Okay, so this beef started when Drake released his album For All the Dogs in October of last year. On this album, Drake had a song called First Person Shooter featuring J. Cole. On that song, J. Cole raps, "Love when they argue the hardest MC, is it K. Dot, which is Kendrick's nickname, is it Aubrey, Drake's real name, or me? We the big three like we started a league, but right now I feel like Muhammad Ali." Kendrick, Drake, and J. Cole have often been called the big three of the 2010s, and J. Cole is saying that he loves when people discuss which one of them is the best one, but he feels like he's the best, hence the Muhammad Ali line. Fast forward to March of this year, where rapper Future and producer Metro Boomin released the collab album We Don't Trust You. On this album, Future disses Drake on the first song by saying, "You a person, number one fan dog, sneak diss and I don't understand dog, I don't need another fake friend dog." This seems to be because when Drake was supposed to make another collab album with Future, he meant to go make a collab album with 21 Savage instead. On this album as well, Kendrick Lamar was featured on the song Like That. On this song, Kendrick dissed Drake and J. Cole to a lesser extent by saying, "Fuck sneak diss and first person shooter, I hope they came with 3 switches. But the fuck the big three, it's just big me. I'm really like that, and your best work is a light pack. For all your dogs getting buried, that's okay with all these nines, you gonna see Pet Cemetery." There's a lot to unpack in these lyrics, but the gist of it is that Kendrick is saying that he's better than J. Cole and Drake, and they aren't even in the same league as him. 2 weeks later, J. Cole drops an album titled Might Delete Later, and the last track, 7 Minute Drill, is a diss towards Kendrick Lamar. I don't need to talk about this track for that long, though, because 2 days later at a concert, he took it back, apologized to Kendrick for dissing him, and took the song off of all streaming services. So J. Cole is officially out of the beef. A week after that, Metro Boomin and Future dropped another collab album titled We Still Don't Trust You, and there are 3 notable things that happened on that album. Number one, The Weeknd was featured on this album, and he dissed Drake on the song All to Myself by saying, "They could never diss my brothers when they got leaks in the operation. I thank God that I never signed my life away." Basically, he's saying OVO, the record label that Drake owns, has leaks. Keep this in mind, by the way, it will become very important later. And that he's glad he never signed to OVO. The second notable thing is that J. Cole is on this album. He doesn't diss anyone or anything, but it was kind of crazy to see him switch sides like that. The third notable thing that happened on this album was ASAP Rocky was on the song Show of Hands, and guess what? He dissed Drake. On his verse, he said, "People in they feelin's over women, what you heard or something, I smashed before you birth son, Flocko," which is ASAP Rocky's nickname, "hit it first son." Basically, Drake has this weird obsession with Rihanna, and ASAP Rocky is currently dating Rihanna, so what he's doing is taunting Drake. The next thing that happened literally happened on the next day, on April 13th, which is when Drake's response, Push Ups, was leaked to the public and then later officially released on April 19th. In this response, Drake attacks all the people who have been dissing him so far. The whole premise of the diss is that Kendrick signed a bad record deal with his old label, Top Dog Entertainment. Drake repeatedly says the phrase, "dropping to me 50, implying that Kendrick had to pay Top Dog Entertainment 50% of his money he made from his music. He also calls Kendrick short repeatedly and says he wears size 7 men's shoes. It wasn't a bad diss, but it wasn't anywhere close to a game ender, obviously, because we're still doing this. The next thing that happened, literally 1 or 2 hours after Push Ups was leaked, was Rick Ross responding out of fucking nowhere. Rick Ross is a rapper who was featured on We Don't Trust You, and to my knowledge didn't diss Drake on that verse, but felt like he wanted to respond. I'm not gonna lie, well, this just isn't one of the best disses ever. What it is funny as fuck. The angle Ross attacks Drake from is that Drake is a white boy trying to separate himself from his blackness, but still plays into his blackness for profit. Calling Drake white will never not be funny in my opinion, because you know that shit pisses him off. Anyway, after that, Drake responded by leaking texts between him and his mom calling Rick Ross a racist, which is just so fucking corny in my opinion. The next thing that happened is that 1 or 2 days after Push Ups came out, Drake dropped a second diss track on Kendrick called Tailor Made Freestyle, which notably features AI versions of the rap legends Tupac and Snoop Dogg telling Kendrick to respond to Drake. I find this dumb for multiple reasons. I'm just going to go through them real quick. Number one, it took Drake about 20 days to respond, so he shouldn't be on a high horse about responding quicker. And two, I just fucking hate AI. AI is corny as hell. After that, Tupac's estate struck down Tailor Made Freestyle because of the AI, which is just great. I'm glad, because that shit was bad as hell. Okay, I completely forgot to write this into the script for the first time, but on April 21st, Kanye West decided to drop a remix of the song Like That, where Kanye disses Drake and J. Cole. It wasn't the best. It wasn't very good because Kanye just isn't a good artist anymore. Vultures 1 was bad. But whatever. He's part of this, so I had to mention him. Flash forward a couple weeks, Kendrick randomly drops his response on a Tuesday morning titled Euphoria. This song attacks Drake in a lot of ways, but some of the most notable ways are literally just being a hater and saying, I hate you, I hate the way that you walk, I hate the way that you talk, I hate the way that you dress. Right after that line, he drops the line, how many more black features till you finally feel that you're black enough? Attacking Drake from a single angle as Rick Ross did and saying that Drake feels insecure about his race and needs people around him who are black to feel black as well. Similarly to this, later in the song he says, I even hate when you say the N-word, just saying that Drake shouldn't say it because he isn't black enough. There's more here, but we'd be here all day if I covered every bar. 3 days later, though, Kendrick drops another diss called 616 in LA, in which he claims that people around Drake are working for Kendrick and telling him information about Drake. Remember what The Weeknd said on All to Myself? Anyway, on the same day that Kendrick dropped 616 in LA, Drake dropped his response. Oh boy. So this track is called Family Matters. He says a lot of shit on this track, even going as far as crushing the car on the Good Kid Mad City cover in the music video. That isn't the worst part for Kendrick, though. On this song, he claims that Kendrick's wife slept with his manager, Dave Free, and that Kendrick isn't the real father to his son. Drake also claims that Kendrick beat his wife, Whitney Alford. There has been no response from Kendrick or Whitney, and no proof from Drake. I'm gonna be honest here, this is bad. If he really did beat his wife, it's terrible, and I can't support him. What we really need is a response from Kendrick or Whitney. From now, we'll just wait on that. No time to wait for Kendrick, though, as he dropped his response to Family Matters less than an hour after it dropped. While not responding to any of the content in Family Matters, it made up for that in the insanity department. The instrumental is this evil, like fucking insane piano, and the song literally kicks off with Kendrick telling Drake's son that he's sorry Drake's his father. The concept of the song is really unique too, being told as letters Kendrick's writing to all of Drake's family members. Kendrick really proves he hates Drake on this song, saying the world would be better off if Drake would just die now, and that Drake's dad should have worn a condom. On this track, Kendrick claims that Drake is protecting sex offenders in his label OVO, and that Drake is hiding an 11-year-old daughter. It ends with this really creepy vocal layering while Kendrick lists off everything Drake's lied about in his career, such as having ghostwriters and getting plastic surgeries. This is probably my favorite diss out of all of them so far. It's just off the rails and insane. No time to breathe after that, though, because Kendrick dropped another diss titled Not Like Us 24 hours later, where he directly calls Drake a pedophile. Infamously, he drops the line, trying to strike a chord, and it is probably A minor, which is funny as hell. This track is great, but one of my favorite parts is where Kendrick, in the second half of the track, brings attention to Drake's use of Atlanta rappers to make it seem like he's more legit than he is. He alleges that Drake is using Atlanta for profit only, then lists off a bunch of Atlanta rappers Drake has collaborated with and gives incriminating reasons for why Drake is collaborating with them, and ends off the verse by calling Drake a colonizer. That very same night, though, Metro Boomin goes on a Twitter rant about Drake, which ultimately ends up with him dropping a beat titled BBL Drizzy and says that the person who rapped over it the best will get a free Metro beat. The beat features a sample of a comedy song by the same name. This is fucking hilarious in my opinion, because it's rolling with something mentioned in the Rick Ross diss that I didn't mention, which is that Rick Ross alleging that Drake got a BBL, which is so dumb that it's probably true. The next day, Drake released his response to Meet the Grams and Not Like Us, titled The Heart Part 6, which is in reference to Kendrick's series of songs titled The Heart Series, and Kendrick's most recent song from that series being The Heart Part 5. In this diss track, Drake alleges that he set up a fake mole and sent Kendrick false information. He says that he doesn't actually have an 11-year-old daughter, and it was just a lie he set up to make Kendrick look dumb. In this song, he also doubles down on Kendrick beating his wife and that Kendrick's kid isn't his and that Whitney cheated on him with his manager. Again, we have to wait for a response from Kendrick and or Whitney about that. Anyway, the rest of this track is Drake's response to the pedophile allegations, where Drake says, if I was fucking young girls, I promise I would have been arrested. I'm way too famous for the shit you just suggested, which is, really weird. So many pedophiles are famous men who never went to jail for their actions, so I don't see what his point is about him being too famous to be a pedo. Also, on this track, we get the dumbest line of this entire beef, which is Drake saying the reason Kendrick is accusing him of pedophilia is that Kendrick was molested as a child, citing the song Mother I Sober for that. This is dumb because Kendrick was never molested. If you actually listen to the song, you would hear the line where Kendrick's cousin is accused of molesting him, Kendrick saying he wasn't molested, but no one believing him. Plus, it's a weird-ass way to have attacked someone in the first place. This diss track is easily the worst out of everything I've covered so far, and it's where this beef ends for now, as Kendrick has not responded to the Heart Part 6 yet.